Hello, everyone. Hey, this is Kylan Hunt with Kylan Hunt and Company, and thank you so much for joining with us here tonight. We've got some really exciting things to talk with you about. But before we do, as we come into this holiday season, in fact, we're coming into Thanksgiving here right away. I mean, it's just in the next couple of weeks here, and it is a time for us, my friends, to really be thinking about what we're thankful for. 2020 has been a challenge across the board. It doesn't matter really what industry you're in. It doesn't matter, where in the world you're living. 2020 has been a challenge. And it's so many different things completely outside of our control this year. But there's still so many things for us to be thankful for. And I want to challenge us all to really don't take that lightheartedly. When you wake up in the morning and you go about your morning ritual, remember to be thankful. Remember to be thankful for the fact that you were able to wake up in the morning and start your day. And just be very, very thankful for what you have. And that's something that I know I've been working on myself personally, because there's times when we can see all the negativity in the world, and sometimes we miss the greatest things that are right in front of us. So don't take those things for granted. Let's be thankful for them as we come into this Thanksgiving season. All right, my friends. Tonight I really wanted to share with you the value of mentorship. And mentorship has been a huge part of my career move. It's been a huge part of my career growth. It's been a huge part of many aspects of my life and my business. And I know you've all heard me talk quite a bit about coaching and the value of coaching. And they're two different things. I want to start off by just mentioning that mentorship and coaching are two different things. See, coaching is designed to draw out of you what is best for you. The coaching process is very, very specific to the individual's internal growth and the internal expression of their awareness and the expression of who they are internally. It's a great way to bring out their purpose, their vision, the values that they hold inside. So that's what coaching really is. Mentorship is a little bit different in the fact that we're looking at different people's experiences. And we're looking at individuals who have gone before us, who have done things ahead of us, have experience in certain places, and now they can come back and they can help us. They can teach us. They can instill wisdom within us. And that's what mentorship is. So they're two different things. Coaching is about drawing out from within. Mentorship is going to be bringing the outward and bringing it to us, bringing it to put it inside of us. So there's a little bit difference there. So tonight we are really going to be diving into the mentorship component. But before we go into the main points, I want to start with this one specific thing. Remember that who you learn from matters. Who you are learning from matters. But you know what else matters? Who they are learning from matters. Okay? That's a two-step system when you think about it. I'm a part of the John Maxwell team, and being associated with John Maxwell has been nothing short of amazing. And we use a lot of John's material, and I've grown quite a bit from John. But see, John is right here, and John has brought some amazing content to his staff. He's brought amazing content to his team. But on top of that is John's staff. Those are the people that John is personally training and mentoring every single day. And what I've learned is the staff members have so much more to teach us. They have so much more that John doesn't bring. John is absolutely amazing. The foundation of everything we do is with John. But when I look at Mark Cole, Paul Martinelli, Chris Robinson, and so many others on the staff, I'm learning more from them than I do from John alone. So who I'm learning from today, myself in mentorship, is I'm learning from those that John has taught. Okay, so John's here, I'm learning from those that John has taught. They're building on John's shoulders. You know what I'm bringing to you? Another step. I'm bringing another step to this. We all are. Everybody on the John Maxwell team who is learning from that staff, we're bringing another level. Now think about what that means to you. You're learning tonight from me, from Kylan Hunt, with Kylan Hunt and Company. It's just a company in Omaha, Nebraska. Well, guess what? I've learned from John, I've learned from John's staff, and I've learned from my own experiences. So if you can take what we're helping you with here tonight and go out and help someone else, you're building on the shoulders of some great people. You're building and growing with all of us together. But take what you've learned here and continue to grow and continue to process forward. So that's what I'm getting at here. Who you learn from matters, and who they learn from matters. Okay? It's going to be that way all the way through the rest of your life. And you want to really be thinking about who people are learning from. Okay, let's dive into these points here tonight. A few things that I really wanted to touch on around the topic of mentorship. First and foremost is, what options do you have for mentorship? What options do you have yourself personally for mentorship? And some of the things you have to look at there if you're going to mentor someone or use your knowledge, use your wisdom to share with others, you have to be looking at what you're learning. So ask yourself this question: what am I learning today? Because if you're going to identify what you're going to mentor someone with, you have to be able to identify what you're learning. Where's that learning going to come from? Experiences. That's one major place. But see, John will tell you that experiences is not enough. Experience is a great teacher. Experience is not the best teacher. The best teacher is evaluated experience. Evaluated experience is the best teacher. Because a lot of times we'll have experiences in our lives that we're not fully evaluating. And we're not fully capturing the best from those experiences. And when we're looking at that, we have to be thinking about the stories that are happening in our life. We want to think about the good things, the bad things, the positive, the negative, our wins, our losses. I've learned that it's really not, to me, about a failure. It's about a loss. I may not win something, but I'm going to learn something, right? So in that process of learning, I want to be able to share that with someone else. I want to share it with others. Let me give you an example of a great mentorship experience in the learning space. When we were back in Broken Bow, there was a couple there that we're very close friends with. And they had a relationship between the two of them, a husband and wife relationship, that was really amazing. I mean, you could just tell that they exuded love for each other at a whole nother level. And they have really worked hard on their marriage and their relationship. And one of the places that they brought mentoring to other people was in the space of marriage. And once a week, they would get together with a group of young married people, and they would share into their lives. The examples that they have experienced in their own life. And this family has suffered some really hard times. You know, they even had a severe accident that took one of their children. And we can't answer those kind of questions. But through that, they had experience. They had experience that they had evaluated, and they were instilling into other people. That's a great mentorship example. And there's all types of experience that you have in your life that you can share with others. So we want to think about those experiences and really evaluate them to see what you can share and what is going to be valuable to others. Now, the second thing about that, when you're preparing for leadership or what options you have for leadership, you got to think about what you have prepared, or options for mentorship, sorry. What do you have prepared? So when you're thinking about your evaluation, you're thinking about your experiences, what are you tracking? What are you documenting? What are you journaling? How are you tracking your experiences? John Maxwell tells a story about one of his executive assistants when he was a young pastor, just getting started in one of his churches. And his executive assistant gave him a book for Christmas. And on the cover of the book, it said, "The greatest story ever told." And John opened the book and looked at it on the inside, and all the pages are blank. But on the very front cover, his executive assistant wrote a little note in there and said, "John, the greatest story ever told is your story. Write it down. There's no greater story for your life than your story." And John really took that to heart. And he began to journal as a young man. He began to track and write things down every single day. And ultimately, he was able to capture all those experiences that he uses today to share and mentor with others. So think about that for a moment. If you're able to journal and track what your life is, it's going to be the greatest story you can ever tell. Your story matters. And that's where you're going to win in mentorship. Now, when you're tracking and journaling your story and you're evaluating it, find the value in that. See, the evaluation process is finding that value. And when you're finding that value, track it, write it down, and ask yourself, now, why did I do it that way? Why do I believe what I believe in this situation? Why do I trust the way that I trust? And you'll learn that those are the things you're going to share with other people in the mentorship space. So really be tracking those things that have value. Now, the other thing when you're looking at options for what you have to mentor with is think about what people are asking you for. In your life, you're always going to have someone come into your life who's asking you for something. They're going to ask you for advice. They're going to ask you for feedback. They're going to ask you for insight. But what are people asking you for? What are the topics? What are the core ideas that people are wanting from you? Okay, when you're able to capture those topics, capture those ideas, capture those things that people are learning from you, expand on it. Take that seriously, because that's one place in your life that you may not realize you have tremendous value. And in that space, expand on that value, because that's a strength that God has given you. And you want to expand on those strengths. See, a lot of times what's happening there is you're delivering value unintentionally, and you don't realize it because people are asking and you're just giving it. But when you make it intentional, you can be so much better in the delivery of that value. Intentional delivery of value is priceless. Okay, so those are just some options that you have for mentorship on where you're gonna learn some of those things. Okay, now the second point I wanted to cover tonight is who's going to benefit from your mentorship. Now, this may surprise you a little bit, what we come up with for point number one, but as I thought through this, I truly believe that the one person who's going to benefit the most from your mentorship is you. Now bear with me here a moment, because if you are the person who's preparing all of this, who's evaluating your life, and you're the one who's tracking everything that's going on in your life, you're sorting out all that information and you're capturing the value, you are going to grow. You're going to develop. You yourself are going to improve in that process. So bar none, The one person that's going to benefit the most from your mentorship is you. I wrote down here as I was thinking into this, preparation requires thinking. When you're thinking, you're going to be growing. The preparation process for mentorship requires you to think into your life. And through that evaluation process, you're going to grow. You're going to see what you want to change. You're going to see what you want to continue. You're going to see what you want to do more of. So as you're thinking, that's going to create growth. Okay? So you're always going to be winning in mentorship yourself. Secondly, who else are you going to be impacting in mentorship is everybody around you. Think about your family, maybe your spouse, your kids, your significant other. It may be your colleagues at work. It may just be some friends that you hang out with regularly. But here's the thing. If you're consistently growing and they're learning with you and from you, guess what? They're going to be growing. And growth is exciting. And it gets to be very attractive. So if you're growing, you're going to attract other people that want to grow. You're going to attract other people that want to be better. And ultimately, you're going to be improving those people around you naturally. Now, there's a few things I want to caution with that, though. When you're aware of your growth and you're intentionally growing every day, sometimes it's pretty easy to become a little bit arrogant. Our egos can grow sometimes with our growth process. So we have to be careful with that. We have to remember that we learned from someone. We learned in a process. And what we want to really help do is assist other people to learn in a process, right? So we want to be very careful in our growth that we don't say, hey, look at me, look at what I've done. No, we want to say, look at the growth that I've had through the processes that I've gone through and the people that I've connected with. Those are the things that you want to remember, is it wasn't just you that did it alone. You've done it through a process and connection with other people. The one thing, too, that you want to remember as you're thinking about maintaining yourself, maintaining your ego in this space is be very curious. Be very curious of other people and where they are, and where they're coming from, and where they want to go. So learn through curiosity how to ask questions that are very sincere. You want to be extremely sincere when you're asking those curiosity questions and connecting and growing with others. Because if you're not sincere, it's going to show through very, very quickly. So through sincerity, be curious, stay humble, and remember, you haven't reached your full potential either. So helping others to reach their potential is going to ultimately help you reach yours. Okay? And then thirdly, and probably most obvious, is you're going to be helping the mentee, right? Of course, the person that is being mentored by you intentionally, they're going to grow. Now, there's a couple of things that I'm going to challenge you with here. See, remember what we just talked about in the last point, that you want to maintain and maintenance that ego component. Well, the same could be true of someone that you're mentoring. If they take off and they really start growing and they're getting better in their life and things are just really, really expanding for them, challenge them to mentor someone else. Challenge them to expand on their growth, just like you did, by preparing their information, preparing the experiences of their life to train and work with someone else. Because if you're doing that, ultimately they're going to grow to another level too. And it helps them maintain that potential ego that can grow with their growth. Okay? Now, when they're going through that, that's part of the mentorship program, is you helping them be all that they can be in every aspect of their life. And that is in the maintenance, that self-care, of our internal growth and our processes. Okay, now the third point, and I put this in the post earlier, and it's really, in my opinion, the most important component of mentorship. And that is to remember that being a mentee is way more important than being a mentor. What do I mean by that? I mean, keep growing yourself. Stay in the game yourself. I love to think about career versus calling, and I've read several articles on this over the last several months, and I think it's just caught my attention because it's just an interesting concept. You know, careers are things that you'll retire from. A career is something that's going to come to an end in your life. But here's what's interesting. If you're pursuing a calling, it has no ending. If God has called you to something that's great, a purpose that's way beyond you, there's no retirement from it. And if you have a calling to serve someone, if you have a calling to be someone, don't lessen up on that. Don't shortchange your potential. Stay in the game all the way to the end until your last day. Stay in the game as long as you're capable. One of my favorite stories, and this is a faith-based story, but I just love this example, and it was a good friend of mine in Broken Bow, Nebraska. His name was Mick Christensen, and Mick and I were in an organization together where we used to hand out Bibles to a lot of different people. And I'll never forget when Mick was actually in hospice, and he's at the end of his life. And you know, Mick called me and he says, Kylan, he says, I need you to bring me a couple of Bibles. And I'm like, yeah, absolutely, Mick. You know, what's going on? He's in hospice on his last few days, and he wanted to give 2 Bibles to the nurses that were working with him. And I'll never forget what that did to me in here. He had a calling. And he believed that calling to add value to people all the way through to the end of his life. He had every right in the world to just hang out in his bed and just reminisce about the history. I mean, he had every right in the world to do that. But he didn't. He stayed true to his calling till the very end. And I'll never forget, it's like, that's a life of purpose. He's able to look back from his deathbed and say, I lived my potential to the very end. And that meant so much to me. That meant so much to me as I continue to learn and to grow from people that are beyond me, people that have learned before me. And I challenge you with that. Your calling doesn't stop until you're called home. It doesn't stop. So stay in the game. Continuous growth is what you're going to need to continually lead. My grandfather, on a second note around that, my grandfather used to tell me that, you know, Kylan, the more you learn, the less you know. And that phrase used to really bother me, because it's like, well, why learn? What is going on? If I'm going to know less, then what's the process here? I don't want to know less as I get older. Well, what I've learned in that process is that he was exactly right. The more I learn, the less I know, because the more I'm realizing how unlimited my potential is. And the more that I learn, the more that I grow, the more I see opportunity, the more I see possibility, the more I see potential in others and potential in systems and people and groups around me. And that's what's so exciting about staying in the game, is life just keeps getting better when you're in that continual growth process. And I honestly would hate to look back now and stop growing. personally, intellectually, emotionally. I don't want to stop growing. I don't want to stop improving, because every single day I'm learning and growing and seeing potential I didn't see before. It's exciting. It's an exciting way to live. It's an exciting way to go on to the next phase of life. I'm almost 50 years old. And, 30 years ago when I was in my 20s, I never dreamed I'd even make it here. But oh, how I wish I would have started in my 20s with the potential, with understanding potential and the understanding how to achieve potential. It would have made such amazing difference for me. And the fact that I now am learning it, I want to expand on it even faster. I want to grow faster. I want to learn more. I want to realize that the more I'm learning, the less I'm knowing, because the more I'm seeing. The more I see that it's just unlimited opportunity out here. But we don't see that when we're not growing. And that's something that has really been a learn for me, even just in the last 2 or 3 years. It's just begun to multiply and expand so much. Now, with that being said, another thing to think about in the mentee space, being a person of continual growth, don't let time travel alone. See, I'm getting older every single day, and tonight at midnight, this day is over forever. This day will never come back to me. This day is gone. It's that way for everyone. But here's some things that I get to choose. Am I wiser today than I was yesterday? Am I able to take that wisdom with me? Or am I just older? Because if I'm just getting older, but I'm not growing in wisdom, there's a huge problem. So what my intentions are every day is to, as I grow older, I want to take wisdom with me. I want to travel with wisdom. That way I always have something that I can fill into others, give to others. I always have something to give. Because you cannot give what you don't have. You cannot give what you don't have. So make sure that as time is traveling, as time is moving on, as you're journeying through this life, take wisdom with you and give it to other people. Give it away, my friends. Learn it, grow, and give it away. That's why being a mentee, being continually growing yourself is just so important. You don't want to stop that process. My friends, that's really what I had for you tonight, but I do want to give you one more bonus component. And this is something that I thought about right here at the end, just before we went on here tonight as I was thinking into this. And that is accountability. When you're thinking about accountability and you're thinking about being accountable to yourself and to others and having other people be accountable to you, that accountability is priceless. But the most important person for you to be accountable to is you. And that's really what you want to remember, is that you are accountable to you. And if you're going to travel through this life and you're going to continue to bring people value all the way to the end of your life, you're going to have to be accountable to yourself. So don't be afraid to be held accountable, and don't be afraid to hold others accountable, because accountability is priceless in the growth process. My friends, I really hope that you took some things away from this tonight as we just real quick review. What options do you have for mentorship? What are you learning? What are you growing with? Who is going to benefit from your mentorship? Remember, you are first. You're going to ultimately be growing because you're learning about your own life and you're learning how to give that to others. So ultimately, you're going to grow more than anyone else. And then the third point I wanted to bring you tonight was never stop being a mentee. Never stop the process of learning and growing. Never stop. Always stay in that space and you will always be fulfilling your calling. Well, my friends, thank you so much for taking a few minutes to be with us here tonight. Thank you for, just taking a few minutes out of your day. I know there's so many other things you can do on a Thursday night. But thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing your thoughts. Thank you for taking some notes. But most importantly, thank you for taking whatever you learned here tonight and take it out into the world and add value to someone else. Our world needs leadership right now more than anything else that I've ever seen. So take what you're learning, go out, instill it in someone else, and lead you and them to a much better life. So my friends, as always, seek truth, gain wisdom, and serve others. God bless.